Hello, Eric Shuptack coming at you on this bright sunny day in DC. Um, Yesterday, and possibly today too, it was hotter in DC than it was in Florida. It was in the 90s here in DC and only in the 80s in Florida. It's an interesting dynamic there. But that said, yesterday, May 2nd, 2018, I went to the Fair Budget Coalition's meeting. Fair Budget Coalition is a coalition of about 90 nonprofits that come together to fight for various budget priorities to ensure that DC's budget benefits the poor and otherwise vulnerable. At yesterday's meeting, oh, by the way, we meet on the first Wednesday of every month from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at 1250 Connecticut Avenue Northwest on the 8th floor. You'll need ID to get in. But if you live in DC Metro, then please do make your way down there on the first Wednesday of any month if what you do revolves around fighting for the poor and the otherwise vulnerable. That said, at yesterday's meeting, we had two presentations. One of the presentations was about a law that was just passed by the DC Council in order to revise the policies that DC schools use to expel or suspend students. They gave a bunch of stats. I must say right off the bat that this is not an issue that I've followed in depth. I don't pretend to understand it in great depth. However, what I do recall is them saying that even though black students make up 68% of DC students, they make up more than 90%, even as much as 95% of the suspensions and expulsions. And blacks are disparately impacted by the current policies. And the same goes for handicapped students. You would never imagine that a teacher would punish a handicapped student because of their handicap. But I heard that there is anecdotal evidence where, for instance, a hard of hearing student acts out in some way because they didn't hear the teacher's instructions, and then they get disciplined because of the behavior that they exhibited because they weren't able to hear and understand the teacher. But anyway, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, who's up for re-election, opposes this law that would revise the policies, the rules around student expulsions and suspensions. And this is one of those things that just kind of gives you pause, where it's like, wait a minute, this person didn't know right off the bat that this was the right thing to do. They had to be told a second or a third time. They had to be argued with in order for them to finally agree. You know, certain things you just expect the person to immediately understand and to immediately agree. This is one of those things. But anyway, even though today is May 3rd, and it's only 1 month and 2 days before the beginning of early voting on June 5th, with the primary actually occurring on June 19th. We have 2 weeks worth of early voting in DC. Here we have the mayor, this close to her re-election bid, saying something so ignorant. It baffles me. But be that as it may, that's the mayor we got. And I sure hope she doesn't get re-elected. So I do plan to go down on the first day of early voting on June 5th and to cast my vote and to shoot a video letting you know that I've cast my vote and letting you know that you need to go do the same if you live in DC. And I hope that you don't vote for Muriel Bowser, and I hope that enough of us vote for the same candidate. Jeremiah Stanback might not have made the final cut in terms of getting on the ballot. I know it was kind of, him getting on the ballot was kind of tenuous last time I heard. I'm going to check and see if he actually did make the final cut. because you have to get so many petition signatures, 2,000 to be exact, and they get scrutinized to see, whose writing was not legible, and that gets knocked off. Who didn't actually live in D.C. And have an active voter registration, they get knocked off, so forth and so on. But that said, I'll figure out who made the final cut, and then who I like the most out of those people that made the final cut, out of the 10 people who were opposing Muriel Bowser. And I'll let you know so that we can all vote for the same anti-Bowser. But this is just one more reason not to vote her in for a second term. So I'll stop there.